Listen to the Tommy Schnurmacher Show, live weekdays 9 to noon on CJAD 800 and CJAD.com.
Good morning and welcome back to CJAD. Welcome back to the Tommy Schnurmacher Show. My name is indeed James Manny, the Montreal Gazette, sitting in for Tommy today. And yeah, we've been talking a lot about all kinds of things non-radio related. We've been talking about reality TV. We've been talking about all kinds of other media. And here we are. We're now talking about a web comedy series, but a web comedy series with something of a difference. Batalion and Jamie Elman are the co-producers, can I say? Co-conspirators?
Co-conspirators. That's more accurate.
Co-conspirators
yeah.
Of a series which is a web series which is entitled
YidLife Crisis.
YidLife Crisis.
Yeah.
Okay. And the trick being here that this takes place in Yiddish.
It's entirely in Yiddish.
It is entirely in Yiddish. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
All right. So I'll let you guys flip a coin, but you know the obvious question is, where did this come from? Ellie?
You have a coin? Ellie, no, I can't.
No, I forgot.
He already threw it to you.
I threw it to you.
Well, Jamie and I actually both learned Yiddish many moons ago. We went to a high school here in Montreal called Bialik High School.
Sure.
One of the few high schools in the world to teach Yiddish, actually. So we learned it at that time, promptly forgot it, but then at a certain point decided to get back together, do a project together, and thought, you know, what's common between us, what really interests us? We realized it was a certain foundation of Yiddish comedy that we found in shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld. Our theory is that they're ultimately based on the roots of Yiddish comedy and vaudeville. That's our thesis that we're actually trying to get published.
Yes, we have other things in common too: indigestion, nausea, neurosis.
We had explored series about those, and actually have some of those are in development.
Well, they were
indigestion series is in development,
but it was more tragedy than comedy. So
yes,
we stayed away.
All right, but here's my question then, because the old saw about that is think in Yiddish, write in English. You're thinking in Yiddish, I'm guessing, and you're writing in Yiddish as well. So what was the deal there?
Well,
why not do this in English?
Yeah, it's a damn good question, Jay. We've been asking ourselves the same question for years.
You can't actually see, but I'm hitting myself right now.
I'm hitting Ellie. I want to hit Ellie.
We're both hitting me.
Yes.
Right now.
No, we thought that there was a few good reasons to do it in Yiddish. One, like Ellie said, is paying tribute to the Yiddish comedians. The other one is that we wanted to explore our growing up in this great city, in this multicultural city, multilinguistic city. And Yiddish is a really interesting thing because it's often called a dying or dead language. Mm-hmm. And it's actually having a bit of a resurgence right now around the world in various Jewish and even some non-Jewish communities, including the Quebecois community. Mm-hmm. And so we thought that there's a lot of parallels here between preserving Yiddish and Yiddish culture and French culture and Quebecois culture, and sort of how is that all mixed up together, the relationship between the Jewish and the French-Canadian community, and just general rapprochement between the communities. Mm-hmm. How do we go about doing it? Well, in terms of thinking in Yiddish, I feel that the Yiddish thinking is sort of a part of our DNA, not just from high school, but going back generations or millennia.
So is the indigestion, by the way.
Oh, yeah, though we come by that naturally, for sure. But we did write the show in English, and then Ellie did the first round of the translation in Yiddish. He got a lot of help from his father, Dr. Jaime Batalion.
Professional consultant.
Batalion. And a few others. Who helped us do the translation, and we always knew that we would be able to do a lot of fun things with plays on language, which of course this city, does pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, puns are a part of the certainly the francophone culture. It's considered a sign of wit, whereas in English you usually have to run after you've done one. But let me ask you both something: is it funnier in Yiddish? Does it play funnier in Yiddish?
Well, I'll tell you this. We did our first episode at La Banquise, where the staff there, I don't think understood either English or Yiddish. Okay. And we actually did a run-through in English, and, there wasn't any particular reaction. But when we did it in Yiddish, they thought it was hilarious. They were guffawing in the back. So, and we also even had this with our own crew, that they didn't understand what we were doing. They were laughing. We were saying, do you actually understand any of the words we're saying? And they said, no, but this is Seinfeld, right?
It sounds funny.
Yeah, Yiddish is one of the funniest sounding languages, for sure. I mean, that was when Ellie first pitched the idea to me that we should do some Yiddish comedy. It was sort of obvious that it would be funny even if you don't understand Yiddish, even if you don't have a translation, which we do. It's subtitled in English. And in fact, tonight we're debuting the French translation as well. But even just listening to it, it's a funny sounding language.
But let me ask you, and this has always been, whether it's you guys or anybody else, is it funny with subtitles?
It's interesting. It's a real challenge, comedy with subtitles, and it's particularly challenging when you are doing two languages at the same time, as we are attempting to do tonight. I think so. I think it adds a lot of content to the screen and the experience, and it's a bit of a different thing because you realize what you're watching, there's a lot of stuff, and you can't catch it all at the same time. So it actually lends itself very well to internet viewing in a sense because it allows you to rewatch stuff, especially if it's in two languages. But I think it adds another dimension. It's a different kind of viewing experience. But
yeah, I mean, we're being somewhat demanding of the audience because, and we've sort of heard this feedback, which is that there's a lot to take in. You want to watch our faces and our expressions and what's going on
which
screen.
Are kind of Yiddish.
Which are definitely, well, I mean, look at you, yes.
It's unfortunate the audience cannot see me.
You're archetypal. Well, they can.
Poster boy.
They can see you, YidLifeCrisis.com.
That's true.
Yes.
But there's sort of a lot to take in, not just because you're also reading it, but because of the things that we're talking about. And in fact, one of the things we're talking about is language. So if you sort of get into the flow of what we're doing, and the rhythm of reading it and looking up and catching everything. And we also spent a lot of time trying to make sure that all the subtitles were on screen long enough for people to digest what we're saying and to watch it. That you sort of start to understand that you might hear a word in Yiddish and then you see how we translated it in English, and it might be the same word or a variation on the word. The one that comes to mind right now is masturbieren, which is not a real word, but
that's definitely a first on CJAD.
It's not a dirty word. It's not
no. I'm just saying. You just broke some ice here.
Well, I've been listening to CJAD for my whole life, so I feel I'm comfortable here to talk about masturbieren.
Make yourself at home.
Oh, damn it! I just remember my parents are listening to this right now. Okay, never mind. Let's drop the masturbieren. But it's a show about language, so we're okay, sort of addressing issues of language, and in fact, in the first episode at La Banquise, we switch, the only time in the series that we actually switch for a full-on piece of the conversation into French with the Québécoise waitress at La Banquise, who's played by the brilliant and beautiful Léane Labrèche-Dor, who's a cast member on SNL Quebec, a very funny and brilliant comedian in her own right. And we're playing up on the fact that these are two guys who are speaking in Yiddish and who then casually switch into French. There's never any indication that we speak any English at all. Which, if you're from Montreal or Quebec or know anything about the culture and politics here, will resonate for people here.
Jamie Elman and Ellie Batalion, we've dealt with the subtitles and the language. We have to take a little break here, but when we come back, I'm going to actually ask you what this is about. What the show is about. How's that?
We'll flip a coin again.
Give us some time to come up
with an answer with that, and that's all good. Good morning, and welcome to CJAD. And if you're just joining us, I am here with Jamie Elman and Ellie Batalion, creators of the series, the web comedy series, YidLife Crisis. And we've had a lot of fun talking about language. Apparently, you used the word that... earlier in the show.
You want me to say it again?
No, I don't want you to say it again.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't seen any text here, which means you probably speak Yiddish better than most of our listeners. So they're going, what did he say? I'm not sure.
Mathematically, yes. That's
yes,
probabilistically true. Yes.
Yeah, you never know. But let's get right down to it, gentlemen. What is the series about?
Well, it's actually about a lot of things, but it's mostly about our midlife crises, specifically as Jews growing up in Montreal and understanding our Jewish identities in terms of Jews that feel very culturally Jewish but are not necessarily the most observant of Jews at the same time, how we pick and choose certain observances over others, how and this is, I mean, we're talking about Jews in general, but this is basically everyone in the world in terms of how they choose the particular rituals and superstitions that they choose to go by versus others, the relative insanity of that and yet the loveliness of it at the same time. So we're kind of poking fun at others, at ourselves, in and around that, and having it all take place in Montreal, which is this bastion of multiculturalness, where these religious issues come up. I mean, what is a religious symbol? What is a secular symbol? These are obviously major issues as they exist in Montreal. So we're sort of taking the piss, as it were, from these issues.
All right, but let me ask you, because it doesn't matter where you're from, it's religion. How careful or not do you have to be?
We were not that careful.
No,
I mean, to be honest with you, I was thinking about this today. A year ago this week, Ellie and I was cleaning off the snow off of Ellie's car outside of La Banquise, where
We
were
have that
writing the
arrangement,
first
by the way.
episode. Yeah, I don't know. Well, because he drives and he pays for gas. And then,
No,
6 months
it's been
ago,
you this whole time.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And then 6 months ago, we're shooting the show, and I don't think we ever imagined we were going to be on CJAD 6 months later talking about it. So we really went all out with getting some of these things off our chest. And like Ellie said, these are issues that are absolutely real to us. We both grew up in the Jewish day school system. We both grew up going bar mitzvahs, Jewish camps, trips to Israel. And at some point, you go out into the real world. And I remember this very distinctly when that first metro ride from Côte St. Luc and getting out at Atwater and showing up at Dawson on the first day.
Oh,
and it
my
was like,
God.
my brain exploding. And like, there's other people on this island.
Wow.
This is unbelievable. They're all different colors and shapes and sizes and religion. And I loved it. And it immediately blew me away. And ever since then, it's been sort of an ongoing conversation between Ellie and I and our friends about what do we preserve about religion and wanting to make fun of it to a certain extent the way that we practice these rituals and sort of examine what's worth preserving. Is any of it worth preserving? Is the Yiddish language worth preserving? Are the Jewish laws worth observing? This is the kind of the things we really wanted to get off our chests.
The first episode was posted, I think, in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, and what have you heard since then?
Hate mail.
Because exactly, it's the web. It's everybody's in there.
No, the feedback has been very, very good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. I mean, it reaches a very wide audience out there. We can see from YouTube that it goes very internationally, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback from both Jews and non-Jews as well, who are both, some people see the similarities with Curb Your Enthusiasm and Larry David. Other people are fond. They're from the Montreal exile, so they've left Montreal, but now they're extremely fond of the bagels that we're showing them, or La Banquise, and they miss Montreal as a result of it because it's kind of a love letter to Montreal as well. So we get all sorts of different people that have been responding to us with it. Some through emails, some through YouTube postings, and some through hate mail that's written in people that cut out letters from magazines and they stick them to paper.
And I'm guessing that much of this feedback are coming from a demographic that I'll refer to as non-Yiddishophones.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, it's only a fraction of Jews in the world that speak Yiddish anyway. One of the sort of conceits of the show, which a lot of people maybe don't realize, and even a lot of Jews don't realize, is that the characters that we are portraying here, which let's say are very close to our real us,
exaggerated version of us at 150%.
There's an absurdist element to it because we are playing secular atheist Jews, basically. Who are speaking casual, conversational Yiddish. This virtually doesn't exist anywhere in the world. In terms of the feedback from what you were just asking, people seem to understand, Jews and non-Jews alike, that we're poking fun at religion, which is a universal dangerous zone.
Sure, absolutely.
But also something that everybody can relate to because they grew up going to Mass or getting consecrated or coming out of, I have friends who are out of Utah. I live in LA now, and I meet these ex-Mormons, and they're going through their own YidLife crises. Mormish, what's the word for this? I don't know.
Mormish.
I was going to say Mormonic. I don't know what
a Mormonic dilemma.
A Mormonic dilemma is the same thing as a YidLife crisis, where they sort of say, I grew up.
And our show is like the Book of Mormon for the web.
Yes, yes, that's it. And by the way, I've also spoken to Mormons and sort of former Mormons who see the show, the Book of Mormon. And thank you. And that means something else, Ellie.
Oh, sorry.
And they can all relate to the fact that some of this stuff is silly. You have to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit. We wanted to laugh at ourselves, and the hypocrisy and the dogma and the fact that we pick and choose these different laws to observe.
What's happening tonight?
We're supposed to be having a show.
Okay.
We will be having a show.
No, we're doing it. It's
we're
too late now. We have a lot of tickets.
We have committed, and a lot of people are coming, actually. We are going to present our 4 webisodes, but this time, for the first time ever, we're going to show them with bilingual subtitles. We're going to have our cast and crew there, especially Léane Labrèche-Dor, who specifically actually translated everything into not just French, but Québécois French.
Right.
With Joual included in it. And it's very interesting to see both Joual and Yiddish, sort of very vernacular languages, lots of interesting similarities and comedic translation done there. So we're going to have that, and we're going to also have a Q&A as well with the audience and a discussion. And then we are going to have a partay, and we may or may not, but we probably will, have Lester Smoke Meat
Yeah,
And
no,
St.
for
Peter,
sure.
Fairmont
We're getting
Bagels.
Leicester Smoke. We're doing it at the Siegel Center, which is another great thing
All
because
right.
we grew up going to see plays at the Siegel Center, and it's the home of the Yiddish Theater in Montreal, one of the few places that does this. It's incredible for us to get to do that.
Can our listeners show up? Is this like open or what? What's the deal?
Yeah, we've actually been very flattered and honored that a lot of tickets have been sold. So yes, you can buy tickets, go online, call the Siegel Center, and we hope Tommy feels better because he was going to come visit us tonight. And we also have Chantal
Ringé is
who's
going
come.
to be there. She's actually a very interesting person who is an academic and writer about Yiddish entirely in French.
Ellie Batalion and Jamie Elman, thank you so much for taking the time. It's a web stuff, but I'll still say break a leg. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Break a
Pleasure
digital leg.
talking to you.
Thanks for having us.
CJAD
Merci
time,
beaucoup.
11:57.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, CJAD.com.